All right. I don't know what podcast this is. 26,
This
20.
would be, what was it last week when you said it?
I don't know, 25.
25?
But
This will be 27.
Yeah, no, that was a long one.
Yeah, that one will break into two parts.
Well, let's start this one off. A friend of mine passed away, and he was a baseball guy, and he died after a 15-month battle with leukemia. He's a great guy. He's out of Michigan City. He played got drafted by the New York Giants, turned into the San Francisco Giants, played a couple of years in their farm system. His name's Carl Swenson. And I saw him, I've known him since 2003, 2004. And we had many baseball talks. And he came to visit our Jones teams and helped our pitchers because he pitched in the system. A big guy, about 6'2", 6'3", and lost his battle with acute leukemia, the same disease that beat up Craig Sager, who was on the court reporter for NBA. And I saw him, and he still talked baseball to the end, and really a selfless guy. He gave many lessons, many clinics, and didn't charge anybody anything, for the most part, and just dedicated himself. He was a liquor salesman for 53 years. But in his off time, he never forgot about baseball and just always gave back. Coached, was an assistant coach for a state championship team in 2005 with New Buffalo out of Michigan. And that was Class D championship. So he was always wearing that ring, always wearing his Giants ring. So just a great guy. He will be missed. He has two grandkids. One plays baseball for Wabash College, and is playing baseball and I believe football for Michigan City High School. So the best of the family, and he will be missed by many.
All right, so what do we got here?
Okay, I was listening to the Score in Chicago on the way here, and they were talking about football certification. And if your kid was playing football, what would be the first thing you would do in order to let him play? And both hosts of this program, of this segment, said, I'd have to know who the coach was. I'd have to trust the coach. It's a great point. And they were talking to this guy who's out of the north suburbs. I think his name was Jeff Meyer. I didn't pay attention to his name. And he's a big football is king, and football is a life sport, and football is football that. But the main points were, in order for them to be coaches in that league, and they've suffered a downturn in enrollment because of all the concussion threats and everything like that, and parents, especially mothers, being fearful that their kids have scrambled brains, and they said football is dangerous. But they've been proactive about certification. So the coach has to be certified by USA Football, a new program called Heads Up, which has been going, you have to be certified in Minnesota for the last 6 years. I don't think Illinois has that yet in high school. But in this particular suburb of Chicago, USA Football, Heads Up program, you have to be certified there. You have to go through a concussion test like you do in Chicago Public Schools. And you also have to go to a PCA, Positive Coaching Alliance clinic. 4 things in order to be a coach. And that should help parents trust the coaches if they go through these programs. So.
And why though? Why are these in place?
Because football's a dangerous sport, number one, and you really have to be knowledgeable, and because it's not like it's a contact sport. It's not even a contact sport. It's a collisions combat sport, even at that level, because now the kids aren't as skilled and they run into each other pretty hard. And if you don't have skilled coaches, there's going to be a lot of injuries. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you want a kid who's had a series of concussions and he's like 10 or 11 years old. It won't look good for it. It won't be good for his life, So health and learning to gain the right heads up means Pete Carroll from the Seattle Seahawks is a big proponent of this. And You got to tackle with your head up, face forward, head up, so you can lessen the chance of having a concussion. So I think it's good, but you know, as we're talking about with baseball, you know, DNA, Dave and Joe, we're big on certifying for baseball coaches, and it should be like mandatory. And we know who good coaches are. I mean, we don't know a lot about a lot of things, but we know what coaches are prepared, what coaches work at it, what coaches research, and what coaches just wing it and or do the same things that they've done for years. And the teaching methods are way beyond that, way more detailed, way more specialized. That's basically my goal in life is to improve the profession of coaching, especially baseball.
You know what I don't like about it? I love the certifications for football, but it sucks that it only exists because it's a dangerous sport.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist for any other mental reason for the kids, you know, for their character development or anything. It really does exist because if football wasn't dangerous, it would not be a thing, or maybe it would be a thing, but not as in depth or not as detailed out. You know what I mean? Because there's certifications for baseball. There's certain, you know, things in the country that people have to go through programs to be, you know, recognized. But, you know, if baseball was dangerous,
well, according to parents, if you get hit with that ball, it hurts.
Yeah, of course.
Well, it does hurt.
And then it goes away. And football can have.
You have a helmet.
Football has a higher rate, definitely, of having some serious lifelong repercussions.
Yeah, we're not even talking about concussions. We're talking about knee injuries, ankle injuries, hip injuries. You know, what if a kid gets a helmet in the stomach and you know they haven't worked on their core, so they might have a rib injury. They might, you know,
we're talking rib injuries, knee injuries that affect you later in life.
Right.
Concussions that affect you, just everything. And that's what I'm saying. It's good, but it sucks that it takes that much to be on the line for people to be recognized as a credible coach.
Right. I mean, you can make the argument that you should start football when you're getting a little more developed in your muscular system and get a little bigger. You know, there's the guy who was running these programs out in the north suburbs. He was saying, you know, if there's a little kid, there's a spot for him. If there's a bigger kid, there's a spot for him. But that's, you know, he was just expounding how great football is. Well, football's for adults. Mm-hmm. Football's for
that's the one thing I was gonna say too. Is like, you know, they put these kids on the same field, but there's fifth graders that damn near look like they're 15, and there's fifth graders that look like they're 25 pounds.
Right.
So it's and there's fifth graders playing football. There's the Pee Wee leagues and the JV and all this stuff, and it really gets to be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean,
high school and college kids can barely control themselves when they're flinging their body around.
True. And let's face it, pro football is an abyss.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, it is. It's just a center of scumbags. I mean, you got guys playing football that should be in jail. I mean, they've done so many fucked up things. Mm-hmm. But they're the best football players in the world. Okay, and these owners, coaches, they sell their souls, a lot of them, for good football players. That's why going college football. Did you have any interest in the Alabama-Georgia game? I certainly didn't.
No, I didn't really care this year. Past years, I've definitely.
That's who can out-cheat who. I mean, really, these kids should be in college. They don't want to be there. They're there to play football. Mm-hmm. Go back to when there was real student athletes. That's why, they're not going to compete for a championship any year. But that's why I follow Northwestern, because that's a true student athlete. And there's Stanford, okay, and they're really good, but there's not many like that. Duke, And they're crappy. You know, Northwestern is local, and Pat Fitzgerald does a fantastic job of coaching. And on basketball, they got good players now too. They run into a little snag this year, but last year they went to the NCAAs for the first time. And I just love student athletes. I don't want guns for hire. Just let them go to the pros.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Let's see. So where were we going with that? Rolling into baseball. And we like to go off on our tangents.
I know.
Started talking about the certification.
We
Go to
did.
baseball.
We did, and we've said it many
Oh,
times.
screw it. Let's move on to Magic Johnson.
Okay.
I like this one.
You like this
Go
one?
ahead, tell the story. It's a good one.
Okay, Kendall Gill, who played many years in the NBA, and then he started boxing a little bit, and he had 4 pro fights, and he had 3 knockouts. But he's a local guy. I think he went to Rich Central in the suburban Chicago, went to U of I, and played, I think, 15 years in the NBA, between 13 and 15 years in the NBA. And they asked him a question. He was being interviewed. He does color work now, and he does studio work for the Bulls. They asked him, are you afraid of anything? Were you afraid of anything in the athletic? When you're playing athletics, basketball, boxing? He said, no. He said, I was in awe of a guy one time. I said, well, who was that? He said, Magic Johnson, because I never saw anybody that big handle the ball that well and playing point guard. Never. I mean, now there's plenty of guys that can handle the ball, like Kevin Durant. And Bulls got a new guy, Lauri Markkanen. He's pretty good. He handles the ball, 7-footer. And there's other guys that are really big point guards or really big off guards that handle the ball. But he was in awe of that. But he said he's never afraid of anything. And we were talking about this off camera, about most pro athletes aren't afraid of anything. If you ask them why they lost, he said, well, time ran out. If we give us enough time, we would have beat these guys. I mean, it's never give credit to anybody else.
Yeah.
If you talk about it off camera, they just said, we were better than those guys. They never give credit, because they're all pros and they all have supreme egos and supreme confidence in their talent.
And the ones who are the outliers, they get weeded out fast.
Right.
There's 2 types of people. There's the ones who will admit that they were impressed or in awe, but then there's the ones that will take that form of impressed or that form of being in awe and say, oh, I was scared of that guy.
Right.
There's 2 types of people, and it's all about your mindset and how you look at that.
Right.
There's no getting around it, right?
No.
If, at the time, Magic Johnson, the only guy that could do that, there's probably a good amount of guys that were like, holy shit. And there's another good amount of guys who are like, oh, damn, like he's good.
Yeah.
But they didn't think of it. It's all about how they framed it in their mind. That's what really does have an impact on your athletic abilities.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
And just the opposite.
the way you carry yourself.
Yeah, and the opposite of that, we're talking about carrying yourself. A lot of youth athletes have no confidence in what they do. And when it's like, okay, I was just waiting to get beat.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Hey, we're doing really well today. We're really doing well today. And a lot of these high school athletes or youth athletes said, we're doing well, but they'll eventually beat us. There's no confidence there.
And you know what it is? Like there's always this stigma, whatever town or city, neighborhood, whatever you're in, there's always a stigma that, there's always this set of schools or this one school that, they're always the best, no matter what you're doing. But that doesn't matter, because everybody is the same age. Everybody puts their pants on the same way.
Right.
And whether they are physically more mature or in terms of talent or anything, that shouldn't matter in regard to your own mentality.
Right.
Because they are 15-year-olds, just like you. They are 16, 17-year-olds, just like you.
I must have made that speech 100 times. These guys are just high school players. Go out and beat them.
Yeah, they just fail to understand, because
they make errors like you do.
For example, right, the stigma around like the Chicago area is, the Catholic schools are better at baseball than the Chicago public league schools, and the suburban schools are better as well. They got these farm boys or whatever that people like to say. They just meant to play sports, stuff like that. They got the resources, they got everything better. But it doesn't matter what they have, because at the end of the day, it's your mentality that is separating you from them. Yes, you might go to a school where you have to actually do your homework. Boo-hoo. But you know what? It's up to you to put the work in. It's up to you to say this kid is a high schooler just
But
like
you know
me.
who perpetuates those myths? Defeatist attitude coaches.
Mhm.
They said, okay, they got more money than us. They got more. They got more. Resources than us. Therefore, they're better than us.
And all it
Go out
is-
there and compete, and maybe that's I can't stand. And I've been around coaches like that. I can't stand it.
And
I
all
said
it is just one team.
we're
playing
beat
another.
already.
One set of high schoolers playing another set of high schoolers.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Now, am I saying that one on paper isn't better in terms of talent or stats or how they look physically? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, you have two sets of high school teams. Just go play. That's all it is, right? Because that team that gets slaughtered by 15, they're always the team that knows they don't have a chance.
Right.
But they choose to know that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And now, if you carried your mentality the opposite way, you carry that to practice every day. You carry that to games every day. And now, instead of choosing to accept defeat, you're accepting failure and moving forward, and you're accepting the ability to want to win.
Right.
And so, every single day you show up, you make plays. And now, when you get to the game, you make plays. And you don't just show up and say, we're going to lose, so you never make the backhand.
Right. I mean, you've been playing sports your whole life. Don't you have a certain amount of belief in yourself?
Yeah.
And why would you
But you do it so much.
right? Why would you belittle it when you see a school from the suburbs or a school from the parochial leagues? Just believe in yourself, believe in your teammates, and believe in your coaching staff. If they're good, I mean, everything will work out. I mean, finally, and again, I don't know how many people watch us outside of town, but we finally had a winner in the Chicago Public League football. We never had a state championship. For the 2 out of the last 3 years, a school has won it. And part of it's talent, but part of it's believing they can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a mentality that it has to be passed on by coaches. You can't ever think negative. Negativity can creep in really easily from a lot of different areas, from outside sources, from your own teammates, from your coaches. It can't happen.
Yeah, I mean,
You try to get all the negative stuff out in practice. Here's what's going to happen here, and if you make an error, you try to correct it, and you try to reinforce the fact that, hey, this is practice, and if there's a mechanical flaw, you fix it. If not, if it's a mental breakdown, you try to encourage kids. Some kids need to be brought down by their being too cocky and they can never improve. But most kids need reinforcement when things go wrong.
Yeah. And I think the biggest part is just you got to get away from the result all the time.
Right.
Just constantly on the result. Just, we're going to lose. Or we're going to kick this team's ass, and then you get upset. Or I want to win this championship. I want to win that championship. It's got to be, why are you here? And then how are you going to do it? Right? So, why are you here? Because I have this goal. Okay, now the focus is, how do we do that? It's never, it's because from day one, once you show up with a why and a goal, that gets thrown out the window because the next thing that happens is it's the how, and the whole way is the how.
Well, you just, talked about a philosophy that was the best college coaches in history philosophy. John Wooden, who won 11 championships in 13 years, would say, I don't care what the other team does. Just do what you do best, and the results will take care of itself. Mm-hmm. The byproduct of execution is winning, but execute first. The byproduct is success. So, I mean, he didn't scout anybody. He said, if we do things the way we're supposed to do, and he had great players, the results will take care of itself. Mm-hmm. So, I think it's great. I think it's a great philosophy. Of course, you have to have great players, but he didn't worry about it. He worried, I talk about in our basketball practice how we just do not take executing plays and executing offenses and defenses seriously enough. And that's why we always lose.
Yeah.
Because, when our head coach, I'm the assistant varsity coach, and our head coach says, he's been saying that forever, that If you don't take execution seriously, you guys are about the same talent level of everybody else, but they know what they can do. You guys don't take executing serious enough, and you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, we played the top team in our conference, and they were not a good three-point shooting team, so they didn't shoot threes.
Yeah, knowing and understanding yourself.
Yeah,
right?
they just did what they did best. They shot two threes, they missed both of them.
That's the same thing we always talk about, right? If this guy's a bad curveball hitter, but I'm a bad curveball thrower, am I going to throw him a curveball?
No.
I'm going to give him my best pitch in my best location.
Well, we'll go back.
Not that I don't.
We'll go back to that in a second, but we're winning this game yesterday. You know, we're next to last place, and we're winning 19-8 because we're executing.
Mm-hmm.
We're running this stuff that we ran exactly that we did in practice. Now we have substitutions. And the guys that were messing around in practice and didn't pay attention get in the game. And we lose the lead, and we never got it back. 19-8. We were 26-22 at halftime, and we lost by 4. We lost by exact same 4 because we didn't run it, and they got the lead, and they got some steals, and we stopped executing. Which goes back to, let's go back to your way you pitched. And you would pitch to your strengths. I watched you for the longest time. You just say, hey, look, my best pitch is this particular pitch, and I'm going to throw it up and down, in and out, and here it is.
Yeah.
Hit it.
And the shitty part is my best pitch varied. So I didn't know which one was going to be the best pitch. Just depended. Right. Sometimes it was only my fastball, so that's what I threw. And my fastball wasn't fast. I just got the job done sometimes. And other times, breaking ball.
Well, you change speeds on your fastball.
But you just have to recognize you don't want to be the guy that you're not sure what's working that day, but you have to recognize what's going on and adjust.
I saw you get shelled one time.
Mm-hmm.
One time in 4 years. That's pretty good. There was a couple of times where they scored a lot of runs out of you, but you weren't getting shelled. We were dropping the ball. Remember a game on the south side where you won the game, but a couple guys made errors, and we came out. I took you out of the game, and then
was that at Kenwood?
Yeah. We were winning. We were one out away from slaughter rule. We ended up going 7 innings. Yeah. The other game was when you got hurt, so they were just tattooing everything because they were 25 years old.
Yeah, that was like
they were as cheating as any high school team could be, and yes, there are cheaters in high school, folks. So
I heard that program changed.
Yeah, they're real high school kids now. They're not like adults with 3 kids. Yeah, so they're even out of the top league. They're in a lower league. So yeah, they got what they deserved. What else we got?
I don't know. This was a good one though. It wasn't structured. It was a nice change of pace. It was just a nice conversation.
We always have nice conversations.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right.
Hey, anybody who wants to call in, text in if you want a subject that for us to talk about, we'd be happy to do that. If not, we'll just keep on coming back, and hopefully you enjoy it. So until next time, Dave and Joe saying so long.